The envelope trembled in my hands like a live wire, its edges crisp and official, stamped with the bank's unyielding logo. I stood in the dim hallway of my cramped apartment, the fluorescent bulb overhead buzzing like a swarm of angry wasps, casting harsh shadows on the peeling wallpaper. My heart hammered against my ribs as I tore it open, expecting the usual rejection letter for my loan application. Instead, the words leaped out at me. Mortgage payment confirmation. Property owned by Reginald Hargrove. Reginald Hargrove. Uncle Reg. The man who'd raised me after my parents' car crash when I was 12. The man who'd sneered at my teenage tears over failing grades, saying, "Someone has to be at the bottom, kid. Might as well be you." And there in black and white was the truth. Every paycheck I'd scraped together, every overtime shift at the warehouse that left my back screaming and my hands calloused, had been funneled straight into his account. I'd been paying his mortgage for years, thinking it was for the family trust he'd promised would secure my future. The shock hit like a gut punch, bile rising in my throat. I crumpled to the floor, the paper slicing my palm, a thin line of blood welling up as fury ignited in my chest, a white-hot blaze that threatened to consume everything. How had I been so blind? I replayed the memories in my mind, each one now tainted with betrayal. Uncle Reg, with his perpetual smirk and polished loafers, always preaching self-reliance while I slaved away. "Build character, Alex," he'd say, clapping me on the shoulder a little too hard. His cologne, expensive, musky, clinging to my cheap work shirt. I'd believed him. After Mom and Dad died, he'd taken me in, but not out of kindness. It was obligation laced with resentment. He'd never had kids of his own, and I was the unwanted baggage from his sister's tragic end. I'd overheard him once on the phone with some investor buddy. "The boy's a drain, but he'll pay his way eventually." Pay his way. I'd been paying all right, paying for the sprawling house in the suburbs where he hosted barbecues for his golf club friends, while I rotted in this roach-infested studio, eating ramen to make ends meet. The anger surged, raw and unfiltered, making my vision blur. I paced the room, the worn carpet muffling my footsteps, the air thick with the stale scent of takeout containers piled in the sink. Humiliation burned in my gut. How many times had I called him, voice cracking, asking for advice on my dead-end job? "Keep grinding, nephew. Someone's gotta be the grunt." And all the while, my money was padding his life. Heartbreak twisted the knife. He'd been the only family left, the anchor in my storm-tossed life. Now that anchor was a noose. I slammed my fist into the wall, drywall crumbling under my knuckles, pain shooting up my arm. It felt good, that pain, real, tangible, unlike the phantom promises he'd fed me. Denial crept in like fog over a graveyard. Maybe it was a mistake. Clerical error. Uncle Reg wouldn't do this. Not to me. I grabbed my phone, fingers slick with sweat, and dialed his number. It rang twice before his voice boomed through. Smooth as silk but edged with impatience. "Alex. Make it quick, I'm in a meeting." "Uncle Reg," I stammered, my voice hoarse. "I got this letter from the bank. It says my transfers are going to your mortgage." "What the hell is this?" Pause, heavy and telling. Then a chuckle, low and dismissive. That. "Listen, kid, it's all part of the plan. The trust is tied to the property. You're investing in your future, our future. Don't get your panties in a twist." "Investing? I'm barely scraping by. You told me it was for college, for a down payment on my own place." His tone sharpened like a blade unsheathing. "And it will be once things pan out. Life's not fair, Alex. Someone has to be at the bottom to prop up the top. You're doing your part. Be grateful I gave you a roof back then." Grateful. The word exploded in my mind, resentment boiling over. I hung up, the phone clattering to the floor. Be grateful for the scraps while he feasted. Obsession took root then, a dark seed sprouting in the fertile soil of my rage. I spent the night hunched over my laptop, the screen's blue glow illuminating my hollow eyes as I dug into public records. The house was indeed his, valued at over $1 million, mortgage half paid off by my contributions. He'd flipped investments, lived large on my dime. Fantasies swirled, storming his door, fists flying, or something colder, more calculated. But doubt nipped at the edges. Was I overreacting? He was family, blood. Yet the moral conflict gnawed. If I did nothing, I'd remain the bottom feeder he saw me as. The next morning, the city awoke with its usual cacophony. Horns blaring from the street below, the distant rumble of the subway vibrating through the walls. I called in sick to work, my voice convincingly ragged, and took the train out to the suburbs. The air grew cleaner as the urban sprawl gave way to manicured lawns and picket fences, a stark contrast to my gritty neighborhood. Uncle Reg's house loomed at the end of a cul-de-sac, a two-story colonial with ivy climbing the brick facade, the scent of fresh-cut grass mingling with the faint aroma of his neighbor's barbecue. I parked a block away, heart pounding, and watched from the shadows of an oak tree, its leaves rustling in the breeze like whispered secrets. He emerged around noon, dressed in khakis and a polo, golf bag slung over his shoulder. A woman, young, blonde, laughing, clung to his arm. Not Aunt Carla, who died 5 years back from cancer. This was new. They piled into his gleaming SUV, the engine purring smoothly as they drove off. Jealousy mingled with my anger. He had companionship, luxury, while I had isolation. I slipped around back, the gate creaking softly under my hand. The backyard was a paradise. Pool shimmering under the sun, patio furniture arranged like a magazine spread. Peering through the kitchen window, I saw granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, all paid for by me. Guilt flickered as I jimmied the lock, a skill from my misspent youth before Uncle Reg straightened me out. Inside, the house smelled of lemon polish and faint cigar smoke. I rifled through his study, drawers yielding bank statements, investment portfolios. There it was, transfers from my account, labeled nephew contribution. But deeper I found discrepancies. Offshore accounts, shady dealings with a construction firm, tax evasion, embezzlement. My pulse quickened. This was ammunition. Yet fear gripped me. What if I got caught? Was revenge worth prison? I pocketed a flash drive with scanned documents, slipping out as quietly as I'd come. Back on the train, the clatter of rails mirrored my racing thoughts. Planning began in earnest. Expose him, ruin him financially, make him taste the bottom. Days blurred into a haze of quiet calculation. At work, I loaded crates mechanically, the warehouse's metallic clang and forklift beeps fading into background noise as I plotted. Evenings, I pored over the files, the apartment's single bulb casting long shadows across the table. Resentment festered, turning to obsession. I imagined his face crumpling as his world collapsed. Poetic justice. But moral conflict raged. He was old, vulnerable without his wealth. Was I becoming the monster he accused me of being? A week later he called. "Alex, we need to talk. Come over for dinner. Clear the air." Suspicion prickled my skin. Was he on to me? I agreed, arriving with a bottle of cheap wine, my smile forced. The dining room glowed under chandelier light, the table set with china I recognized from my childhood. Mom's inheritance. He poured scotch, the amber liquid glinting as he swirled it. "Look, nephew," he began, voice paternal but laced with steel. "I know you're upset. But life's a ladder. I climbed it, pulled you up a rung or two. Without me, you'd be nothing. Nothing." The word escaped through gritted teeth. "I've been funding your climb while you kicked me down." He leaned back, eyes narrowing. Harsh words. But true enough. "Your parents left debts, boy. Covered them. This is repayment." "Lies," I whispered, heartbeat thundering. "They had insurance. You squandered it." Tension crackled like static. He chuckled again, but it rang hollow. "Prove it. And remember, blood's thicker than water. Cross me, and you'll regret it." I left seething, the night air cool against my flushed skin. That conversation sealed it. Cold resolve hardened in my veins. Revenge wasn't just desire. It was necessity. But how? Subtle hints emerged in my mind. Anonymous tips to the IRS, leaked documents to his business partners. The suspense built slowly, each day a step closer to the edge. The flash drive burned a hole in my pocket as I navigated the crowded city streets, the cacophony of vendors hawking wares and pedestrians jostling blending into a white noise that matched my inner turmoil. 2 weeks had passed since that dinner, each one a meticulous weave of plans and doubts. I'd copied the files, anonymized my IP through a library computer, and drafted emails to the authorities. But obsession had morphed into something darker, guilt-laced fantasies where I saw Uncle Reg broken, pleading only for me to turn away. Was this justice or vengeance? The line blurred, moral conflict twisting like a knife in my chest. Fear whispered too. What if he traced it back? He'd always been cunning, a shark in human skin. I started small, testing the waters. An anonymous post on a local forum about shady real estate deals in Oak Ridge suburbs, hinting at his name without direct accusation. The response was tepid, a few curious replies, but it planted seeds. At night, in my apartment, the walls seemed to close in, the drip of a leaky faucet echoing my insomnia. I'd stare at the ceiling, replaying his words. Someone has to be at the bottom. No more. I'd drag him down with me if needed. He noticed the ripple. A text came. Heard some rumors. You wouldn't know anything, would you? My reply was curt. No idea. Suspense simmered, a slow burn that left me on edge. I watched his X account, boastful posts about golf scores and vacations, waiting for cracks. Then the first real strike. I emailed a tip to the IRS from a burner account, attaching redacted scans of his offshore transfers. Heart pounding, I hit send, the click of the mouse resounding like a gavel. Days later, he showed up at my door unannounced. The knock was sharp, insistent. I opened it to find him disheveled, tie askew, eyes bloodshot, the scent of whiskey on his breath overpowering his usual cologne. "Alex," he growled, pushing past me into the cramped space. The room felt smaller with him in it, his presence dominating like always. "What's this about?" I feigned innocence, closing the door with a soft click that belied the storm inside. He whirled, face contorted in rage. "Don't play dumb." Auditors called, questioning my books. "This you're doing?" Humiliation flashed in his eyes. Raw, vulnerable. For a moment pity stirred, but resentment quashed it. "Why would I? You've been so generous." Sarcasm dripped, heightening the tension. He stepped closer, voice low and menacing. "Listen, boy. I built everything from nothing. Your parents, they were fools, squandered their money on dreams. I saved you from foster care. This how you repay?" "Repay?" Anger flared, my voice rising. "You've been leeching off me. That trust was a lie." He laughed bitterly, but it cracked. "Life's not a fairy tale. I needed the cash flow. Business hiccups. You'd understand if you weren't so damn weak." "Weak." The word ignited cold resolve. I shoved him back, not hard, but enough to make him stumble against the table. "Get out." He straightened, eyes hardening. "You'll regret this. Friends. Pull strings." The door slammed behind him, leaving silence thick as fog. Fear gnawed, what strings? But planning intensified. I delved deeper into the files, uncovering more. He'd embezzled from his firm, funneled funds through shell companies. One involved a partner who died suspiciously, heart attack, ruled natural. Paranoia crept in. Was Uncle Reg capable of worse? Suspense built as I orchestrated the next phase. I contacted a journalist anonymously, leaking select documents. The article dropped a week later. Local investor under scrutiny for financial irregularities. His name splashed across local news sites. I watched from afar as his world unraveled. Posts on X turned defensive, then silent. Friends distanced. The blonde vanished. Yet inner conflict raged. In quiet moments, guilt surfaced. He'd raised me, flawed as it was. Taught me to tie a tie, drive a car. Heartbreak resurfaced, for the boy who'd idolized him. Doubt plagued. Was I destroying a man over money? But fantasies of justice pushed back. Him homeless, tasting my despair. The climax approached on a rainy evening, the city slick with puddles reflecting neon lights. He called, voice slurred. Alex. Need to meet. Please. Compassion flickered, but suspicion won. We met at a dingy bar downtown, the air heavy with smoke and regret. He sat in a booth, shrunken, nursing a drink. Rain pattered against the window like accusatory fingers. Nephew, he rasped, eyes pleading. It's all falling apart. Heiress freezing assets. Firm firing me. Help me fix this. Help. I sat opposite, the vinyl seat sticky under me. After everything. Tears welled, shocking real. I was wrong. Your parents' insurance. I used it. Gambling debts. Then your money kept it going. I'm sorry. Admission hit like thunder. Raw emotion choked me, anger but also pity. Sorry doesn't cut it. He leaned forward, desperate. There's more. That partner. I didn't kill him, but I knew his habits. Pushed him hard. Guilt's eaten me alive. Moral grayness enveloped us. He wasn't a monster, just broken. But betrayal stung fresh. Why tell me now? Because your family. Blood. The word echoed his earlier threat. Resolve hardened. I'd come too far. Too late, uncle. As I stood to leave, he grabbed my arm, grip feeble. Wait. One thing, the house. It's in your name now. Transferred it last week. Poetic, huh? You win. Chuck jolted me. Win. I pulled away, rain soaking me as I fled into the night. Back home I checked records, true. The house was mine. But twist. Attached note in the transfer docs. Someone has to be at the bottom. Now it's me. Days later news broke. Uncle Reg found dead, overdose. Suicide. Or accident. Guilt crashed over me. Had my revenge pushed him? Obsession turned to haunting regret. I sold the house, donated proceeds. But the bottom felt deeper than ever. Justice tasted like ash, consequences unforeseen. In the end we both toppled.